My name is Schultz, and I'm doing my informative speech about beer. For the introduction, beer is the most widely consumed alcoholic beverage. How many of you had your first beer at a bar or a party? I drink and experiment with a lot of different kinds of beer, so I decided to research about this topic. According to a Czech proverb from a beer history website that I researched, a fine beer may be judged with only one sip, but it is better to be thoroughly sure. Today, it is my honor to share with you what I have learned about the history of beer, the key ingredients, and the steps to brew beer. The history. In the Sumerians, beer had been revealed to be as old as 6,000 years ago. There was a poem honoring Ninkasi, which is the goddess of brewers. And the oldest beer recipe was from barley, made via bread. In the Middle Ages, many other mixtures of herbs were often employed in beer prior to hops. These mixtures are often referred to as group. Beers in the early European history. In the 16th century, beer largely remained a homemaker's activity, made in the home in medieval times. In the 14th and 15th centuries, beer brewing was changing from a family activity in the pubs and monasteries, brewing their own beer for mass consumption. In the 15th century England, an unhopped beer would have been known as an ale, while the use of hops would make it a beer. Hopped beer was imported to England from the Netherlands as early as 1400 in Winchester. Most beers, until recent times, were what are now called ales. Lagers were discovered by accident in the 16th century after beer was stored in cool caverns for long periods of time. And so what ends up happening here is they lasted longer than ales in terms of volume. Beer during the Industrial Revolution. The introduction of the thermometer and hydrometer in the 19th century allowed brewmasters to increase efficiency. Prior to the late 18th century, malt was primarily dried over fires made from wood, charcoal, or straw, and after the 1600s from coke. The invention of the drum roaster in 1817 by Daniel Wheeler allowed for the creation of a very dark and roasted malts, which is now known as porters or stouts. For an example, the beer Guinness, which is a dry stout. Today, modern beer. Prior to Prohibition, there were thousands of breweries in the United States, mostly brewing heavier European-styled beers. Bootleg beer was often watered down to increase profits, beginning a trend still ongoing today. For an example, Miller Lite, Coors Light, and Bud Light. Smaller breweries, including microbreweries and craft breweries, and imports have consumed an American market that prefers more alcohol by volume. For an example, the Squire Last Chance IPA, and a Hopback Amber Ale made by Troegs are examples. So is this one, Bear Republic Racer 5, which is also an IPA, also known as an India Pale Ale. The oldest American brewery is Yuengling. Here is an example of the bottle. It even says America's oldest brewery. Since 1829. Today, the beer industry is a huge conglomerate consists of thousands of small breweries to several multinational brewing companies. Some key ingredients: properly prepared cereal grain M, barley, corn, rice, hops. The scientific name is Humulus lupulus. Pure water and brewer's yeast. Quick example of the brewing process: malting, preparing the mash, brewing the wort, fermenting, pasteurizing, and packaging. Now on to the conclusion. It is important to learn about the history of beer, the brewing process. For all those beers, hold on. Remember, it all depends on your own personal taste of beer. Thank you.